position, what does that feel like for you?
Well, it's mixed emotions. Certainly is bittersweet after 15 years of serving on city council and representing the folks of Jacksonville. It's a little bit bittersweet. It'll be hard to leave, but I'm ready for a larger purpose, and so I am excited and eager to get to work. I'm very humbled as well.
Speaking of work, I know one of the things that you wanted to work on is economic recovery from the pandemic. I know that was probably the biggest issue for you. So, I mean, can you talk a little bit about what's first on the agenda?
Well, I think the first thing that we've got to do is get ourselves together and understand that the landscape of the elections are over now. Whether we agree or disagree with whom was elected or not elected, at the end of the day, we've got to collectively get together and work together for the betterment of our people and the citizens that we serve. So I think that we've got to rebuild some relationships and get back on even ground and you know, make sure that we focus on what's good for North Carolinians, and that's getting people back to work, getting our businesses open safely so that they can recover. I mean, we still have many businesses that are hanging on threads. You go to many restaurants, even though they're allowed to have folks in there, they're still empty dining rooms. So we've got to really figure out how we can be the support system for these business people to get themselves back in operation. And I think, you know, at the state we can work with our federal partners and make sure that we use all the resources that we can to get the business community back operational. And I think one of the other things we talked about was education. You know, although the system is working, what we're hearing is that kids are not functioning properly. They're not, you know, particularly at younger ages, they're not performing, and parents are really struggling. Math and science, you know, those difficult subjects where they need a teacher in front of them, they're not performing, and it's becoming very frustrating for parents. So while we want to be safe and we want to, you know, make sure that our public is healthy, we've got to really think of the long-term effects of some of the decisions that we have made, and maybe work together to figure out how we can do things different to get better results and still be safe. And I think we can do that if we work together as a team.
Speaking of working together, Governor Cooper has been, I wouldn't say an advocate, but basically has, you know, wanted to keep things closed. He's been wanting to go in phases. I mean, and you talk about trying to figure out a way to fix the economy right now. Is there a plan that you have right now to work around what Governor Cooper has in place and then what you want to do?
Well, I think that, again, the first step is to work together and make sure that we identify what the actual goals are. And we need to identify the real impacts of the decisions that we've made, that have been made so far, and where our citizenry is actually at right now. And we know that they're not comfortable. They're not comfortable in many areas, whether it's business or business people or people that are just wanting to try to stay healthy, or folks that are trying to go to work but they can't because they've got to have their kids at home and they've got to teach them at home. So we've got to work together to find a plan. I think we as responsible adults can figure out how we can safely do that. There are other examples where there's kids that are going full-time. All the private schools, those children are going to school full-time and they're doing well. We have the DOD schools that are doing that, and they're doing well. Obviously, the statistics are going to change because as we do more testing, it's naturally going to go up in terms of what the results are. If you're in a place where someone was tested positive, you naturally are going to have to get tested, and others around you that were there are going to get tested. So those numbers are statistically going to go up. So when we hear of the data that's being shared, we really need to be cognizant of what that data really means. And I think that we can certainly look at that and figure out ways to have people be more responsible without mandating certain things, so that we can find a proper balance so that people can get back to work, business people can get their businesses back thriving, because in my personal opinion, these things are going to have long-lasting impacts. We still, I don't believe, have the full impacts of the shutdowns, of the changes in education that have been made. And I'm not suggesting they were right or wrong. We have to keep our people safe. We have to keep people healthy. One death is too many deaths. But at the same time, as elected leaders, it is our responsibility to ensure that we keep A, our people safe, B, our economy moving, and C, educate our children. And so the decisions that we made 3 months ago may have been good at the time, but they may not be good today. And so now that elections are over with and we can all really focus on the work that we have in front of us, maybe in a nonpartisan way we can get together and put our differences aside and really work for the people that we serve, because they desperately need our leadership. And that's what we're here to do. That's how they voted. And now it's really our turn to get to work and to make things happen for them. We see that the opioid epidemic, while we were getting some really good results after COVID, now we see a 20% spike. We see an 18% in overdose spike. Those numbers are unacceptable. We just can't sit back and not really look at what's happening around us. People are uncomfortable, they're unhappy. And again, when these numbers start to spike, how does that balance out with COVID deaths? If you're having a 20% spike in overdoses and opioids out of nowhere, you have to account for that in your full data measure on how things are being affected from COVID-19.